It is good to be back.
And your Temple!
Welcome to this week's edition of Courts in Session, where we are fresh off not one, but two Cincinnati showdowns and a college basketball doubleheader.
The Tulane Green Wave came crashing down on both the men and the women over the weekend. But first, let's take a look at the men's game against Cincinnati on Thursday night. The Bearcats arrived in Philadelphia without having played a game in 25 days due to COVID-19. But they came to compete. The game came down to the final minute, but the Owls just could not tie it up. Thanks to more than a few turnovers and a huge 26-point night from David DeJulius, Temple fell to the Bearcats 63-60.
A couple of times we just weren't able to get into it. Cincinnati's aggressive defense took us out of it. And then off the miss, another chance we couldn't get into it. So it was just, again, my fault having to do a better job of making sure everyone's in the right spot and knowing what we're doing.
Both teams joined each other on the court for an emotional moment of silence in Coach Chaney's memory prior to tip-off. Once the game was underway, the two teams began trading buckets as Kevin Cross cuts in for two in an impressive oop jam from Jake Forrester, who was one of the few bright spots in this game for Temple. Aside from him, this game was all Tulane all the time as Gabe Watson knocks down the triple. And on the other end, a smooth corner three from Caleb Battle tied this game early on at 24. That winds up being the transfer's only make from behind the arc. Tulane's Jordan Walker catches Damian Dunn napping to close out the first half. Second half, more of the same, where Temple shot an improved 42%, but that number was negated by Tulane's eye-popping 60% second half field goal percentage. Tulane closes one out easily, 81-64. Looking ahead, the Owls are going to Wichita State this Sunday to take on the Shockers, where Temple has only won once since 1985. Then they return home for a Thursday matinee against the 8th place East Carolina Pirates.
As we've talked about at the top of the show, and really all week, Temple basketball lost a legend last Friday. Coach John Chaney passed away at 89. Temple will hold a memorial on Monday, February 8th at the Leocore Center to remember its Hall of Famer.
The biggest thing about him is, he's a Hall of Fame coach and he's cemented his legacy in the game of basketball. He just cared. He cared about people. And those were the conversations that he and I had over the last year. He just said, take care of those kids and just go out here and help people.
On the women's side, the team persevered through their away game stretch despite a pair of losses against Tulane. They snapped their losing streak with a win against the Bearcats on Wednesday. After the first 2 minutes, Temple held the lead and did not let go once. The Bearcats made a run in the third quarter, tying it up 42-42 after a series of threes from Caitlin Wilson. But Temple didn't budge and ended the game with the win, 69-53. Junior forward Alexa Williamson scored a career-best 21 points, with Mia Davis adding 17.
You want basketball in a pandemic? You got it. Temple playing their second game in 2 days against Tulane this weekend, hoping for a better result this time around, and both teams came out hot. Tulane pure on their first two shots of the day. But an early Imani Mayo three sparked a run for the Owls, who closed out the first quarter leading 22-12 and dominating the transition game. The rest of the game, a different story as Jerkayla Jordan fires away from deep going into the fourth quarter with a lead. Mia Davis isn't ready to go back home with two losses. She goes coast to coast for the easy two. The Owls were threatening in the fourth, but Tulane just too good from behind the arc. The Green Wave's 47% three-point shooting, enough to stave off a late Temple comeback. Tulane wins it 71-69. Like I said, Temple had two games against Tulane over the weekend, and the first nowhere near as close as the second. The Owls just couldn't get anything to go, shooting 30% from the field, 50% from the free throw line, and turning the ball over 17 times. However, Mia Davis did set a career high in steals with 4 in the 80-44 loss. The men aren't the only team heading to the Cyclone State, as the women will take on Wichita State on Saturday, 24 hours before the men. And afterwards, the Owls will host Houston Wednesday at 3:30, looking for redemption after their 46-80 loss. And speaking of Houston, it's time for another judge and jury. This week, Sage has a case to present.
That being said, ladies and gentlemen, court's in session. But first, Josh, what did the jury decide about Houston's fate when tournament season comes around?
The people have spoken, and the Cougars are guilty of being Final Four bound. Now we'll just have to wait and see if Kelvin Sampson can guide his team to the promised land and not me to the gallows. But now, Sage, present your case.
A few minutes ago, I mentioned that Mia Davis dropped 17 against Cincinnati in Temple's win on Wednesday. That's no big news, as she's been averaging over 18 a game this season. But those 17 mean more than meets the eye. She is now 5th in program history with 1,702 career points, passing WNBA All-Star Candace Dupree. That's not all. Davis had 8 rebounds on the night, putting her 34 away from Dupree's 4th place 940 rebounds with just 8 regular season games left. Here's the charge. Davis, like Dupree, could be a WNBA caliber talent when she graduates from Temple.
That's WNBA champion Candace Dupree to you. And Sage, while I haven't seen Mia Davis on any WNBA mock drafts, I completely agree with your charge.
Although Davis outscored her, and I am confident she will soon out-rebound her, it's hard to match Dupree's legacy at Temple. Stats mean a lot, but they aren't the end-all be-all in this case. With Dupree on the roster, Temple claimed 3 conference titles, led the team on a school record of 25 straight wins, and appeared in the national rankings for 27 straight weeks. And those aren't even her personal accolades, which are many.
I'd love to make accusations and bang this gavel all day, but you're just going to have to wait until next Friday.
Don't forget to take to Twitter and cast your verdict in our poll at Outsports Update. While you're there, look out for this semester's first edition of Outsports Update, anchored by Ray Dunn and Courtney Murphy. For myself and Josh Safran, thank you for watching. See you next week.